I'm HITC Sport, and they say that I've got the prediction ability of a goat's inner thigh. Oh, is that right then? Is that actually correct? Well, let's take a look at my weekend predictions and just see what I actually predicted.
No. Mikel Arteta is chewing this Newcastle team for morning brunch. I'll go for Emile Smith-Rowe getting back on the score sheet in a 2-0 routine Arsenal win. It's just inevitable. Newcastle don't score at this ground.
Oh, that's interesting. Surely just a fluke, right? What about Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa? No way I'm getting that right.
You know what? I reckon the new manager bounce at Villa Park will last for another week here. So Villa will snatch a 2-1 win at Sellers Park. Just you wait.
Look at that. Now, what about Norwich City versus Wolves? Surely I can't get 3 correct predictions.
This club don't score many goals. Look, if Pedro Neto was fit, then I would fancy them for a counter-attacking smash and grab last minute 1-0 win. But now I'll go for a pretty stale 0-0 with many fans inside Carrow Road, this close to sticking a yogurt spoon in their eye.
Oh! Okay then, what about Brentford versus Everton?
Sorry, Rafa. I think Ivan Toney is going to dominate your backline, dumping as many petrified centre-backs into his pocket as he can muster. This is going to be a pretty famous 2-1 scrappy Brentford win, with angry Evertonians screaming for the Rafa sack until they're blue in the face.
Okay, it wasn't 2-1, but it was 1-0 with an Ivan Toney winner. Am I a predictions king now? So what about Leicester versus Watford?
The Hornets have not kept a clean sheet of this ground since August 2004, so I think we can promise goals.
Yeah, 6 of them. I promise goals. And this was literally the most goals scored in a single Premier League match this weekend. Okay then, what about Chelsea versus Man United? Come on, this was a shock result, right? Top of the league versus shambles of a unit who conceded 4 at Watford last week. And now being coached by a managerial slice of sponge cake like Mickey Carrick. Nobody would possibly predict a Manchester United point at Stamford Bridge, right?
I just have a feeling that Manchester United, having chucked a permanent tactical egg like Ollie out the window, I reckon they'll dig in and grind out a 0-0 draw. Trust me, Manchester United are leaving the stadium with a point. It's going to be a perfect bounce back from the nightmare Watford, and Ollie, watching this much improved performance from the comfort of his couch. Oh, you're damn right he's going to be sitting in his underpants while crying into his afternoon bowl of Weetabix.
Does anyone have a live feed of Ollie from his couch? Because he was probably doing that as well. But right, clearly I've been swimming in utter predictions redemption this week. I have turned a corner, so now watch me predict all the midweek games with all the clarity of Paul the Octopus. Watch this, this is my redemption. Right, let's go. Newcastle versus Norwich. Yeah, for most neutrals, the idea of watching Newcastle United playing against Norwich on a wet and windy Tuesday night, with the Northeast having been slapped in the face by Storm Arwen, oh, it sounds about as much fun as having every hair ripped off your nutsack by that fat lunch lady with a bread knife. By the way though, why is every storm named after a woman? I mean, I could get on board with Storm Margaret or Storm Susan, because they do sound like angry mothers threatening their kids with a wooden spoon, but name me this one after our Lord of the Rings elf. Clearly it's a heavy indicator that the country's meteorologists haven't talked to a human woman since 1976. But anyway, Newcastle versus Norwich. 2 teams who have combined 15 points after 13 games each. Eddie Howe and Dean Smith are 2 men who have chosen to take on such perilous jobs, perched on the edge of a cliff. I mean, this is akin to marrying someone who eats garbage bags filled to the brim with popcorn and Jaffa cakes, someone who has to comb all 12 of their chins, and you're agreeing to step into this marriage, agreeing to raise a bunch of noisy stepchildren who wake up at 3 AM to defecate on the kitchen floor. Oh, and did I mention you'd be living in a house with a constant smell of a gas leak? Yeah, light 1 cigarette and you'll soon be picking your nose out of the sink. Fair play to both men taking on such gargantuan jobs, I suppose. But yeah, this is going to be a hideous watch. It's weird, this fixture used to produce a flurry of goals. I suppose there were 28 goals in meetings between these teams in just 5 games between 2015 and 2019. There were last minute wins, Timu Pukki hat-tricks, Gini Wijnaldum scoring 4 in 1 match. But last time out, February 2020, it was a stale, horrific, cold 0-0, with everyone in the stadium contemplating whether or not to drown themselves in a toilet bowl at half time. I mean, Newcastle fans think things are bad now. That afternoon, they were trying to cheer on Nabil Bentaleb, football's answer to Poppin' Fresh. This will be a similarly ugly, horrific game of football. And guess what, lads? I predicted both these team scores at the weekend, so logically, clearly I have some sort of Shining-esque window into the workings of these clubs. Right now, Delia Smith is probably coughing up stale toast into her neighbour's wheelie bin. Eddie Howe now is probably being refused beer in Tesco on account of the fact that he looks like a 12-year-old boy. And similarly, trust me lads, we are looking at a horrific, ugly, soulless game of football. There's so much riding on this match. This will be more intense than any recent conversation Will Smith has had with his wife. It's going to be such an ugly game, but crucially a 1-0 win for Newcastle, courtesy of an 89th minute screamer from John Joe Shelby, who did hit the crossbar at Arsenal on Sunday. Honestly, it's going to be one of the biggest moments in Newcastle's recent history. Like when Pedro Mendes battered in a last-minute winner against Man City for Portsmouth to get the Great Escape moving. And I guarantee you not one person out there will remember that goal. But it was a good one. And that's going to be the case with Shelby. Trust me, 1-0 Newcastle. Newcastle have to win. They have to. With a capital H. Five less trying to 600,000 subscribers as soon as possible. If you're new here, slap the big red button in the teeth, you absolute legend. Anyway, back into the video. Leeds versus Crystal Palace. Leeds United need a striker. At this stage of the season last year, they'd scored 22 goals. Now they've mustered a limp 12. Yes, it's still more than Tottenham, but still, where's the entertainment gone? First of all, I know Patrick Bamford is an injured lump in the treatment room and on the sole of my foot, but they need to go out and take a risk. Chuck £15 million at Blackburn for Ben Brereton. Come on, he's a Chile international, so clearly Marcelo Bielsa will like him, because right now they are about as blunt as a filed down thumb. Listen, Patrick Vieira is doing a good job at Crystal Palace, but don't forget, they've only won 3 matches all season after nearly 4 months. Again, we're going to look at another pretty boring match. Honestly, anyone going to Ellen Road tonight, you're about to witness a pretty stale cottage pie performance with both teams terrified to lose. I'll go for a 1-1 draw. Southampton versus Leicester. I'm sorry, I know Ralph Hasenhüttl has his plaudits, but no. Where are the signs that he's this Austrian oracle of German gegenpressing? People say that Ralph Rangnick inspired the likes of Jurgen Klopp, Thomas Tuchel, and Hasenhüttl. Is that really supposed to be a compliment? I'm sorry, but no. It's like finding out that Ralph Wiggins been copying your homework. I mean, look at the results in 2021. If you were told that was Alan Pardew who was sitting in the dugout, you wouldn't have batted an eyelid. Again, you were in a real relegation mess, make no mistake about it. And I do still think they'll go down. And as for Leicester, they've got their mojo back, but have they? Scoring 4 against Watford is nice, but I'm sorry, anything that happened in that second half doesn't really count. Would those goals have really gone in if the pitch didn't look like the set of Ice Age? Did Jamie Vardy's goals really count when Daniel Bachmann could barely see the ball and the Watford left back was probably building a snowman by the corner flag? What do you think is going to be on the cover for the match programme of this match? Or what, James Ward-Prowse looking hard? I'm sorry, but you can't dress it up. This fixture will always be remembered for you being slapped in the face by 9 goals. Every Southampton fan packed into this ground will be quaking like a leaf, Christ above. It's like a worried mother watching her boxer son having his face turned into mashed potato by Tyson Fury. I mean, the next time those two fight, she's going to be sitting in the front row with a set of rosary beads and praying for the fire alarm to go off. I'll go for a pretty comfy 3-0 Leicester win, with Southampton's 3-man defence being chewed apart like a wet tofu sandwich. Watford versus Chelsea. Hands up, who thought when Roman Abramovich upgraded Claudio Ranieri for Jose Mourinho in 2004 that this man would still be plotting Chelsea's downfall 17 years later? I'll admit it, I assumed this man would be sitting in a nursing home eating mashed up Frosties through a straw and struggling to remember the names of his kids. Listen, Chelsea usually have an immaculate record against Watford, aside from a 4-1 loss at Vicarage Road 3 years ago during the Antonio Conte meltdown. I mean, I say it was a meltdown. It wasn't down to a lack of tactics, not being able to understand how to control Troy Deeney. No, it was more just him being angry at the board for buying him an expensive Jaffa cake like Danny Drinkwater. I mean, it'd be like if your grandmother got you a box of dead rats for Christmas. You're probably gonna stop visiting her on Sundays. But I'm sorry, Romelu Lukaku is back now. This is gonna be a routine exhibition, just a professional, comfortable 4-0 Chelsea win, with Christian Pulisic grabbing a goal. West Ham versus Brighton. We live in a world where Brighton are 9th in the league and getting booed off the park. I'm sorry, but Graham Potter is managed with all the top jobs in England, and yet Brighton and Hove Albion supporters clearly think that his rudderless football, I mean a pretty tiki-taka spreadsheet, but with a complete lack of clinical edge. Oh, they think that's about as much fun to watch as an episode of Mrs. Brown's Boys. Contrast that with the West Ham fans, who once looked at the 2 appointments of David Moyes the same way you'd react to the news that Judi Dench was going to spend a month sleeping at the foot of your bed. No thanks, but they do utterly love this man now. They're 4th in the Premier League. But weirdly, West Ham haven't actually beaten Brighton since a 6-0 win in April 2012. Since then, it's been 3 straight defeats and 5 successive draws. Brighton are their bogey team. I mean, let's not forget, they were the club who officially ended West Ham's Champions League hopes in May. Shocking the fact that 6 of Brighton's last 8 games have been draws, and you think this has to be a stalemate. It just has to, right? Listen, Brighton will dominate more than 55% possession of the ball, and if they don't, then I promise I will eat an entire yogurt pot of penny faloo off the floor. But yeah, I'll go for a Neil Maupay strike and a 1-1 draw. Just you watch. Wolves versus Burnley. Imagine, as a fan base, being terrified by the arrival of Chris Wood to your ground. Yeah, I know. It's like working behind the till in Tesco's. And sure, a bunch of men in balaclavas come up the escalator and you don't really care. But if a sweet little granny in a shawl walks past you, oh, you're on the verge of an epileptic fit. That is the case for Wolves right now, because in April, they watched their team because he had a first half hat-trick to Chris Wood. You know, some 10 goal a season centre forward from New Zealand. Some fella who's going to leave behind a Premier League legacy on par with Marlon Harewood. Someone who I actually played against in the 24-hour 5-a-side match for #United last week. I mean, I tried to dribble past him. He shouldered me in the face. But anyway, yes, Burnley smacked Wolves 4-0 at their own ground. And guess what? They haven't actually lost to Wolves in over 3 years, which was Wolves' only win over Burnley since 2010. I mean, that's just weird. We talk about false positions. Does somebody want to explain to me how Brighton are 9th while Burnley are 18th? They have picked up more points than Brighton since September, only losing once in 2.5 months. Shocking the fact that their players just had a weekend off, sitting beside the fire watching The Grinch and Shrek 2, drinking hot chocolate and marshmallows, while Wolves had to travel to wet and windy Norwich. And you know what? I'm going to go for a Burnley win here. Sean Dyche is going to take advantage of having the weekend off to at least smash Wolves into next week. I'll go for a 2-0 Burnley win. Aston Villa versus Man City. Yeah, so here we've got our managerial rookie like Steven Gerrard facing off against Pep Guardiola in the managerial dugout. He is probably scared. Listen, Villa have done well in the last 2 weeks that Stevie G's been on the job, but I'm sorry, you can't read anything into the new manager bounce. Listen, Villa haven't beaten Man City since September 2013. So what do you think is going to happen here? I know they've come a long way, but it was only last year they conceded 6 at home to Man City. I'll go for a spirited Villa performance. They'll keep City at bay. It'll be 0-0 at half time, but no, a late Gabriel Jesus winner will see Man City win 1-0. Everton versus Liverpool. Everton beat Liverpool at Anfield last season, and yeah, this is probably the least those Everton fans have ever looked forward to a Merseyside derby. I know form goes out the window for such a big game, but lads, this Everton team, 2 points from the last available 21. This is garbage relegation form. Why did Rafa Benitez agree to work for Everton under these conditions, signing £1 million midfielders? This is essentially the Mike Ashley regime at Newcastle. It makes no sense. It's like going from one toxic relationship to the other. And now, he's under pressure in a job where he has to try and sell out an Everton team to win the Merseyside derby against a club where he is literally a legend. Liverpool is the greatest legacy of his managerial career, and now he's in danger of being done before Christmas by their mortal enemies. For Rafa, this was just embarrassing and needless for his career. This is going to be a 3-0 Liverpool win against an underconfident, out of sorts Everton. And guess what, lads? Here's my prediction. Benitez is getting sacked on Thursday morning before getting replaced by Nuno Santo. I know that's about as inspiring as cow juice, but trust me, in February, when Newcastle are still stuck in a relegation battle, all of the Northeast press are going to be screaming for Rafa Benitez. Poor Eddie Howe. Tottenham versus Brentford. Another fixture which we've barely seen ever. The last 7 meetings between these clubs have been in the League Cup. The last time they met before that was in Division 2 in December 1946. Listen, if Antonio Conte, armed with one of the deadliest strikers in world football, can't get his team to beat newly promoted Brentford in their spaceship of a ground, then he should arguably just grab the first plane back to Italy because he's wasting his time. But no, it'll be a pretty smooth, comfortable 2-0 Tottenham win. Man United versus Arsenal. Manchester United versus Arsenal used to be a fiery battle between 2 of the most polished managers in the game. It was essentially excellent man management versus a genius and tactical ideology. But now, it's just a battle between 2 former midfielders called Michael. Well, one is Michael in Spanish. 2 midfielders used to come up against each other in meaningless mid-table games between Tottenham and Everton. If someone had told you back then that they would be facing off one of the most iconic games in world football as managers, you'd assume the person who told you that had just took coffee up their nose. I mean, I remember when Carrick first arrived as Roy Keane's replacement in 2006. Most people thought this Tottenham standard mid-table pit stain of a midfielder would be shoved out the door within a year, probably loaned back to Spurs. Honestly, Manchester United fans, they wanted to sign Michael Essien or Mahamadou Diarra, not someone who nearly voided his lasagna swimming bowels on the goddamn football pitch. They even gave him the number 16 shirt, Roy's number. No wonder Keane keeps moaning about Carrick's interviews. Christ above, he's been doing that since 2014. It all comes back to the Corkman being so territorial about his number 16 shirt. Listen, don't get me wrong, Carrick developed into one of the most underrated midfielders in world football, but telling someone back in 2006 that Carrick would still be a Manchester United employee 15 years later, they would be close to rummaging their eyes out with a fork. But listen, Arsenal versus Manchester United is a glittering match which has kind of lost its meaning. It used to be a sumptuous title fight, but lately it's just like 2 bums fighting each other in the park. It's just forgettable damp squib games with barely any goals. I mean, Old Trafford has seen just 1 win over Arsenal inside the last 5 years, and only 3 since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. This a team who under Fergie, they used to be 6-1 and 8-2. But I will go for a win here. I know Arsenal are organised. I know Aaron Ramsdale's in the form of his life, but I'm sorry, Ralph Rangnick is already going to have his fingerprints all over this match. So yeah, why not? An ugly, scrappy 1-0 win with Scott McTominay bundling in the only goal of the game from a corner in a 1-0 win. Just you wait and see. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know. What do you think? Alright, what how are these once again outstanding predictions? Let me know in the comment section below. Enjoy the video. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, I'll talk to you in a while.